All right, the purpose of this video is to show you how to solve the problem with the Sony, there it is, STR-AV910 stereo system, where the volume works like this, but if you go to use the remote, this remote here, or any Sony remote, the volume dial doesn't turn. Everything else works with the remote, but the volume doesn't, okay? And so I have a solution to this. I have a solution to this based on somebody else's video that talked about how this could be a common problem for this series of Sonys. So long story short, here's what you do, okay? First of all, make sure everything else works with the remote. If everything else is working with the remote, then the problem is likely due to this motor right here, okay? And these devices were built in the late 80s, early 90s, so at this point, they're more than 30 years old. And so in my case, the solution was to lubricate that motor, all right? But getting to that point took a lot of trial and error. So first off, another gentleman on YouTube who did an excellent job, by the way, he's the guy that actually enabled me to figure this out. He said, take this off and lubricate in here. I did that as a starting point. In hindsight, I didn't have to do it, and you may not have to do it. But if you choose to do it, you want to take off that little nut there, unscrew it, and spray this lubricant in there. The lubricant is this thing here. I got this on Amazon. It was like 10 bucks. All right? Anyway, again, I don't think that really played a role for me because I did it multiple times and it didn't help. The way I really cracked the code here, or came up with a solution, was to address the motor. Now, long story short, I am an electrical engineer, and so I pulled out my multimeter here, and I started probing things to make sure that the voltage was actually getting to the motor. And in fact, it is. Once I realized the voltage was getting to the motor, then I was like, all right, we probably have a lubrication problem here. So that's ultimately what the problem was. So let's just talk through this. This here is a gearbox. This is a motor, okay? I opened up the gearbox right here. See this little piece of metal? I used some needle nose pliers. I got it open. Once I got it open, I could see the gears in there, and they were lubricated. I lubricated them a little bit more with that same can that I just showed you. The real problem, but that didn't solve the problem. The problem only got solved when I started lubricating the motor. Now, here's what really counts. I was lubricating the motor for a couple days, hoping that it would have an impact. There was no impact. So at this point, I said, I got nothing to lose. I really got to try something big. And so what I did was, if you can see this right here, you see that little hole right there? That's a little hole right there. That is a small thing. What I did was I lifted this unit up, held it vertical, so that, again, I turned this vertical. And then I took this little hose and I put it to that hole. And let me tell you something. I started flooding it. Well, first of all, I put a paper towel underneath it, but I started flooding it with that fluid. All right, so first I did it lightly, there was no impact. Then I did it lightly again, no impact. And then I just started flooding it. And I mean flooding it. No joke, I let it wait. 20 minutes later, it opened up, and now it turns. All right. You can actually see the knob turning right now. See it? I'll put it back on for more visual confirmation. But that's it. So the solution all comes down to the motor itself. The challenge was really, how do I lubricate that motor? And the answer is, look at that little hole. That is the point to lubricate it, right there. And if you lubricate it horizontally like this, you're not going to have any success. You literally have to put it up vertically by tilting the unit up, and just pouring this stuff in there. I mean, I flooded this thing. No joke, I flooded it. And This stuff was pouring out underneath. I had a paper towel under there, but that solved the problem. All right, I can tell you that is the culmination of 4 hours worth of troubleshooting. Hope it helps.